coaches live.
All right, guys. So today we have Sean Green, and we are really lucky to actually have him. He runs a very successful YouTube channel called SoccerCoachTV, which you can actually see on his T-shirt. And I would really like you guys to actually check out his channel, check out some of his videos. It's really informative, and please subscribe.
Thank you so much for the invitation. I appreciate you and Abnab to allow me to come along and talk with the team tonight. I have a lot of fans from India who follow Soccer Coach TV, soccer players, coaches. So it's my pleasure, my honor to be talking with the players of Shimla Football Club. I regularly speak with coaches and players like yourself from different countries, and we talk about different topics. And my goal is to help coaches and help players worldwide as much as I possibly can through social media. And I've made some great relationships and great friends from that. So what I'd like you to do is pay good attention to the things I'm saying, because I want you, if you want to be the best player in your club, if you have aspirations of being pro, then you better check off every single box that I talk about in these qualities. If you're lacking 2 or 3 of those qualities, the chances are you're not going to be the best player in the club, and you're not going to have a chance of being anywhere close to getting in the door of a professional club, because they will notice that, and that will be exposed within seconds. Are you remembered by the guy or the team you played against for some special quality? When you finished your game, you go home and you're sitting on the couch and relaxing. What does that team remember about your performance that is special? Were you a threat every time you got the ball? Did you cause problems for the back four every time you got the ball? Were you tough as nails as the defender? Is he going to remember you? He's going to have bumps and bruises over him the next 3 weeks. You were so close to him. You nailed him every single time. Will he remember you? Okay. And while I talk about this, when you played last year, can you remember one player you played against and why? That one player probably did something special, had incredible pace, beat players. He was just phenomenal in the air defensively. He might have been a great goalkeeper. And that's your goal, to leave your impact, leave your presence. Let me tell you something. If you didn't show up on a Saturday for a game, would it make a difference to your team? Or would it just be the same results? What difference does it make? Would you be really missed? Ask yourself that question. If you stayed home, what difference would it make to your team? You've got to get to a level, my friend, that if you stayed home, if you weren't there, if you were sick, if something happened, you weren't able to show up, you weren't able to make it, you were injured, that it definitely makes a difference to you. So let's face it, if you're not making a difference, why are you there? Okay, that's your ultimate challenge. And to have that really honest peace of mind with yourself to say, yeah, I do make a difference. I do make a difference by the quality of my play. I make a difference by the commitment. I make a difference in this team by verbally being a leader on that park. I know that field's going to be much quieter because I'm not there. I know that that team's going to be less dangerous because you don't have my pace, you don't have my enthusiasm up top to score goals. Make a difference, okay? But if there's no difference when you're not there, so you've got to ask yourself some serious questions of what you contribute to that team, okay? You've got to have concentration levels that are off the charts and discipline off the charts, okay? Always competing to win and play to win. You've got to win. You know, your great players compete to win. What I tell my team is this: when we're in practice and we play 3-on-3, we play 5-on-5 in small-sided games or 7v7. I'm always concerned about my teams when they play small-sided games, because I emphasize that you have to have such an appetite in training to win 3v3 games, to win one-on-one battles and drills, to win 7v7 in practice. If you're 1-0 down in practice, you're playing 5v5. If I don't see you, phenomenal amount of energy and passion and commitment to get back and tie it and win that game. Because I'll tell you why, because if you can't win those small games, if you can't win those 3v3 games in practice, if you don't have the appetite and the consistency to win 5-a-side and 7-a-side, you're not the guy I'm looking for, because you're not going to win the big games when it really counts under pressure. That's where you formulate your habits. That's where you formulate your characteristics. So your small-sided games in practice should be like human warfare, not a rondo, not a pass little possession game. It should reflect your attitude to win games on a Saturday. Or where you're getting that experience from. You can't draw it out the year. You can't just turn it on Saturday. It's got to be all the time. Technically, you've got to be absolutely skillful. You can't fake that. You want to be a good player, you've got to have a tremendous amount of skill. And it's no good having the will if you don't have the skill. You can be as passionate as you want, enthusiastic, be the greatest guy in the world. If you've got the will, great, but if you don't have the skill, you're not going to cut it. Okay? You've got to be composed, show a sense of composure on the ball. That comes with understanding space. Players who are not composed on the ball have no concept how to create space for themselves. Space equals time. Time equals quality. The more space you have when you receive the ball, so understanding where the space is on the field, you want to use every inch. You want to be long, you want to be wide, you want to be deep. When you receive the ball, you want to receive it in space, as much space as you possibly can. If you receive it in space, you've got time on the ball. If you've got time, you look like a world beater. You look absolutely class. Players often lose the ball, who are under pressure a lot, have no idea, no concept, is foreign to them. So that's one of the big things you've got to understand, because listen, your contribution with the ball in the game is less than 3 minutes. In a 90-minute game, the ball's out of the field for 30 minutes or in between players. So the 22 players in the park, divide that between 60 minutes. It's less than 3 minutes in a game. So the other 57 minutes when the ball is actually on the field, you don't have the ball. 90% of your contribution to Shimla Football Club is off the ball. And if you've got no concept of what that responsibility is, you've got a problem. Okay? It's great to be able to dribble, it's great to be able to shoot, it's great to be able to pass. That's the smallest percentage of your contribution on a Saturday afternoon. Building support up the ball. Knowing when to run forward, knowing when to support behind the ball. The ability to overlap in moves, the ability to come short to get the ball long, to go long to get the ball short. All these things, the movement of the ball, the patterns of the ball. These are things that are the biggest contribution. The ability to defend when you don't have it. Okay? So, got to have consistency. One of the hardest things to have. I've had many players play for me, play 1 or 2 games, then a bad game, then another good game, then another bad game. Our best players are the ones who, when I came out the locker room and they've lined up for the national anthem, and I look out there and I see my players in the national anthem, I know which players are going to play well. I know what to expect from you. Yeah, you sitting there, I know what to expect from you inside, because you do it every week. You're the guy watching me right now. I don't know what to expect from you, because last Saturday you played great. Today you played hopeless. Next week you might play average. Get to a level of consistency. You have to. That's what we're striving for. To be consistent. When you think about Man City and you think about Liverpool, the amount of games that those guys play, day in, day out, and the level of consistency they show. Don't get me wrong, they have the bad games. Man City doesn't play great every game. Liverpool doesn't play great every game. But they often find a way to win when they're playing bad. Okay? How many times did Liverpool play bad and won 1-0? Champions. That's what champions do. They win games when they play bad. And finally, everything is important to the good player. Everything. It's important if he plays. It's important if he's in the team. It's important if he plays well. It's important if he's a good ambassador for the club. It's important that he's a team player. Who do you talk to the most on your team? Who do you talk to the most in training? And who do you talk to the most in games? Right now, I want you to answer that. Player you talk to the most on the team is yourself. You have a running conversation for 90 minutes a game. You talk to yourself more than any other player on the park. So let me tell you, my friends, you better have a bloody good relationship with yourself. You better like yourself. Because the things you say to you in your park will drive you to brilliance, or they will drag your game down. The words that you're using to yourself in the park, words that you are in, is it encouraging or is it destructive? Do you make yourself a phenomenal player by the things you say? Because words are more powerful than actions sometimes. So if you keep pulling yourself down, if you keep worried about that bad pass that you made 10 minutes ago, or that own goal you give up half an hour ago, if you're still thinking about that in a game, it's destructive. You've got to be in the moment. It's physically impossible for you to be in the next 10 minutes in the game, or the last 10 minutes. You're always going to be in the moment. But once you start thinking about bad mistakes, you're never in that moment. And so you're no use to the team. So you've got to have a great conversation with yourself. You've got to have what triggers you, what motivates you. You've got to find those words that motivate you. Okay? That's important. I do many exercises with my players about conversations that they have with themselves and conversations they have with other players. And often what we will do in practice, I will designate every player with one player. You won't know who your motivator is till after practice. So I might say, okay, Anna, your job is to encourage and motivate Trevi in the game, in practice, or in a game. Trevi won't know because you're not allowed to tell anybody. Trevi, your job, just, hey, you can't be a captain, you can't be loud, you can't be screaming at everybody, motivate. You can do it with one person. So Trevi, what I want you to do, I want you to motivate Paris. Every time Paris gets the ball, tell him if he did a great pass and tell him, let him know. Tell him he's playing fantastic. If he does a bad pass, don't point a finger, point 5 and lend him a hand. Encourage him. Okay. So, and then in the locker room when we come in, I will say, Trevi, who was the guy who was supposed to motivate us? You should instantly know like that. If Anna did a good job, if he communicated well, if he followed the instructions that were set out for him to do, he should have accomplished that goal by making you feel great. You would know instantly. If you had no clue, either he didn't do his good job or you were not receptive to receiving any input from any player on the field. But listen, there's one thing clear that is going to change your life. It's going to change your game. It's going to change you as a player. The number one thing is raise your standards. Simple as that. Maybe basic. But raise your standards. Raise your standards in everything you do. You're not going to get there if you're not going to raise your standards. What can you do to raise your standards? Can you be fitter? Can you be more disciplined? Be more organized? More respectful? How do you treat people? Every area of life, you're looking to raise those standards as a player. If you're not consciously every single day to raise your standards, you're going to have problems. So, want to go to the level, want to be a pro? Every player that I've coached wanted to be a pro. Much. A lot of them did. But every player wanted to be a pro. And the reality is, a lot of the players are not good enough. Often players are one level lower than they think they are and 2 levels lower than their parents think they are. So you have to, first of all, establish, first of all, a real grasp on your ability of how good you are versus how good you think you are. Okay? You may be great. I don't know. I've never seen you play. I would know within 10 minutes of watching you play how good you are. But how do you do that? Well, first of all, you've really got to be honest with yourself. Okay? You've got to find a coach. I'm sure you've got them there in the club who will sit down with you and give you an honest assessment. It's no good you thinking that you could play at Man City tomorrow if you're a sub on the bench at Shimla FC. You've got to, first of all, find the place you're at before you can go forward. And there's nothing wrong with that. Okay. And that's one of the biggest problems with players your age. They're not in the moment. And that's what escapes them. So focused on, well, you know what? I want to be a professional soccer player. Your head's not in the now, not in the moment. You got to change that. Okay. Yeah, that can be goals for you, but it can't be a running conversation you're having every day about that's where you're thinking, that's where you're going. You've got to be in the moment. You've got to take care of business right now with Shimla.
Yeah.
If you're not the best player in Shimla or one of the top couple, you're not getting a pro contract. So your immediate goal has got to be the best player in your club. Whether you're under 16 or under 15, under 21, are you the best player? Are you the second best player, the third? If you're not, if you're in the middle of the pack, that's your goal, to be the best player, to be in the top 1 or 2 players in that club. So be realistic. And then when you get to that point, then you can start thinking. Okay? But everything has its time and place. Be in the moment when you're in training. Be as disciplined, be as committed, be as great as you can in every single practice. That's all you can do to ensure a future pro contract. There's nothing you can do past the day that will ensure that. It's every single day, be in that moment to work on absolute quality technique, getting better and better every single day in that moment. What motivates you to want to be the best player? Maybe to go pro. Some people are motivated by money. They want to get to the next level because they want to make money. Some people are motivated by fear. They just don't want to fail. Scared to fail. So what motivates them is the fear factor. They don't want to be losers. Some people are motivated by ego. Boy, want to be a superstar. Papers, want to be on TV, those things. Let me tell you, my friends, when you learn in life, and it serves football, when you learn that when motivation is not driven by money or ego or any of those things, when your motivation is driven by love, it opens up a whole new world. When you love what you do, that's the goal in life, is to love what you do, to not work at anything. Work should not be work. My entire life, I've been a professional soccer coach. I've never worked in my life. This is what I love to do. And if you're in for football, if you want to get to the highest levels of football for money, for fame, for fortune, for ego, you will fail. If your goals are driven by love of the game, you love coming to training, you love working on your fitness, you love getting in shape, you love being in a club environment which cares about the players, you love your teammates, you're not in it just for you, you're in it for the club, you're in it for Shimla, not just for your agenda. When you love your club, when you love your parents, when you love your teammates, when you love your partners, when you're in everything for love, it takes on a whole different meaning. It becomes such a different world. Okay? So go after what you love, no matter what it is, whether it's pro or any career, go after what you love.
Brought to you by SoccerClinics.com, the world's first coaching website.
SoccerCoachTV, where coaches live.